an alien invasion. Is it biblical? Of course it is.
Clearly, I'm not here today as a fact witness.
You can Google it.
I think you just use the Bible, do whatever the hell you like.
Just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Welcome to Mystery Bible Theater 3000. My name is Caleb Haig. With me, of course, my lovely assistant, Rob Vanhoff. This one could be an extremely long, this one could be long, but, you know, we're going to try.
But the video is short.
But the video is very short. So before we jump in, see HageTorahResource.com. Send your videos there. We've been getting some interesting ones. Good for sure. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I know it sounds weird, but it really does help us. Okay. We're going to jump right into this. So we have one. So the word heterodoxy is used multiple times in this. If you don't know what the term heterodoxy means, it means diverting from orthodox opinion or orthodox theology. So, for instance, if you are not part of the Catholic Church would say that you believe in heterodoxy or that you ascribe to heterodoxy, meaning that you are not part of the standard Christian theology that they would say is orthodox. Okay. Now that I've informed you on that, let's kick on over. By the way, the person that we're going to be viewing today is named Doug Gooden. He is the leader of a ministry called Cross to Crown. Now, I'd never heard of this gentleman before, but that's who he is. And there are your receipts. So let me get this here. Here we go.
Now, just let that settle in for a moment. Paul left Timothy in Ephesus to tell certain men in Ephesus to stop teaching heterodoxy, and the heterodoxy they were teaching was the Old Covenant law, including, and as we will see, especially the Ten Commandments. They weren't using it for evangelism. They were teaching it to believers, and Paul calls it heterodoxy.
Okay. I did not clip this, by the way. I did not clip this. Doug is the one who, I believe, put this up, and he's the one who clipped it the way that it is. Or maybe he didn't. Maybe somebody else clipped it. However, they thought that this 34 seconds was what needed to be heard. Okay. So, of course, back to another person who believes that the quote-unquote Old Covenant is done away with. Once again, I'm going to guess. I don't have this on solid information, but I'm going to guess that Doug did not tell us what he means when he is using the term Old Covenant. And I think that that's a problem. A lot of the time people will think that will say Old Covenant is the Old Testament. I don't believe that that's what the Old Covenant is. And interestingly, he throws the Ten Commandments in there. By the way, heterodoxy, how would this be heterodoxy? So my initial thought is this. I think that this is so ridiculous. And I think it's just so, I think it flies in the face not only of our view of the Torah, but I think it actually flies in the face of standard Christian doctrine. So this, what he is teaching here, I think is heterodoxy, not just from like Catholicism or Greek Orthodox. I think from evangelicalism. The notion that, I mean, remember that Paul, the apostles, Yeshua, they're all Jewish, right? The laws that they have taught, that they have believed in and that they have practiced are the standard.
Dude, it's so idiotic.
It's really bad.
I mean, here's why. He's in Ephesus. Timothy's in Ephesus. First of all, Timothy's circumcised.
Right.
So Paul's writing to his circumcised young Padawan learner, right? And in chapter 4 of 1 Timothy, until I come, give attention to the public reading of what? Scripture, right. To exhortation and to teaching.
Oh, man.
1 Timothy 5, for the Scripture says, right? He quotes Scripture. If we venture to include the second epistle, from your childhood, you have known the sacred writings that are able to give you wisdom, lead salvation.
to lead to
Of
salvation.
Course, 3:16. All scripture is inspired by God, profitable for teaching, for reproof, correction, training in righteousness. It's like this dude has not actually taken the time to read 1st and 2nd Timothy.
Do you think that that's it, or do you see? I think that is something else. I think that what people are trying to do is they are trying to maintain what I would consider to be actually the orthodox view of the place of Torah in the life of the believer.
They're panicking.
And they're panicking because they're realizing, hey, we can't hold on to any of it. If we hold on to any of it, we have to get, then we got to take it all.
It reminded me of the Andy Stanley blunder. We've got to unhitch ourselves from the Old Testament. Here's the thing. If you look at the context of 1 Timothy 1, okay, yeah, instruct certain men not to teach strange doctrines. How's he do that? Paul tells him, stick to the public reading of Scripture and teaching from it. Right?
Strange doctrines, though. Do you think that the Jews of the first century thought that the Torah was strange doctrines?
He says, don't pay attention to myths and endless genealogies, which give rise to speculation. He's talking about Jewish sectarianism and mysticism.
How many emails do you think Doug has received asking him about Torah observance or the Sabbath? I'll bet it's a lot. I bet that's where this kind of stuff comes from. It's the same with like what's his name?
Who was the other guy?
Oh, there's a ton of them, but I mean, just look at look at all of the like quote unquote Hebrew roots videos that have been coming out. Like, okay, most ministries, most teachers today want to say that Hebrew roots equates to Torah observance. Okay, fine. If that's what you want to say, then lump me into that. I don't think that that's all that the Hebrew roots has to offer. I think it's much worse than that. I think that there's a lot of heterodoxy that goes on in the Hebrew roots movement. But if you just want to focus on the Torah observant part, fine. Okay. Then put me up as a spokesperson. That's fine. The point is that I think between the Messianic, the pronomian Christians, the one Torah, the one law theology, and then the Hebrew roots movement, I think between all of it, what you're getting a mass amount of people asking questions that are very uncomfortable for people like Doug, who are now having to say, how do we maintain this tradition that has been going on in the Christian church, for 1,800 years or more? I mean, talk about eisegesis and trying to shove your own theology, your own belief into a text. And it's not just this text; it's the entire Apostolic Scriptures, the entire New Testament. It's sad.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it's a strange spirit. You know what I mean? It's like it's like, what are you're telling people that Paul's telling Timothy, whom he circumcised, to tell the people who are teaching the 10 Commandments to shut up, and stop teaching the Old Covenant.
Here's the other thing: is that I talked to this is a couple years ago. I talked to there's a very large church here in Tacoma, and I talked to the guy who founded the church and was the pastor there for over 20 years. And he said to me, I said, well, what do you think about the Sabbath? He said, well, I got to tell you, I prayed to the Lord, and the Spirit showed me that we don't need to be keeping the Sabbath. So then the question is, okay, what spirit are you listening to? It certainly can't be, Paul says that if somebody comes preaching a different gospel, I mean, is the gospel, do we think that covenant relationship is wrapped up in the gospel? I would say yes. I don't know, man. I think that this is bordering on anybody who's going to reject the Scripture itself. Matthew 5:17 and following says that anybody who teaches others not to keep these commandments will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. So it still does seem like they have a place in the kingdom of heaven, and it's just least in the kingdom of heaven. But, I mean, what kind of a gospel are we teaching when we say, hey, have a relationship with God, but you can cheat on him all you want? It doesn't make any sense. It's very odd. I just don't understand. I don't understand how mainstream Christianity can maintain such odd theology. That's all there is to it. All right, I'm done. I mean, like, this was the quickest video I think we've ever done. I thought it was going to be the longest one. It's the quickest one. See, there you go.
Yeah, it's one last point. I would say we could compare it to those discussions we've had, maybe on Messiah Matters more than Mystery Bible Theater, but where in Colossians 2, you have like the well-rutted tire tracks, in the free where Christians go, oh, it's talking about, like, all these things are talking about, like, Paul's dogging God's commandments, like, and it's like, no, just pause and read the context. It's traditions of men, philosophies of men,
right,
being built, and it coheres exactly with what Yeshua says. You're teaching the commandments of men, and you're setting aside the law of God. That's the core. The core problem is not that God's law we have to change our view of God's law. The problem is we have to learn to recognize the traditions of men as giant planks in our eye,
right, and
walk around thinking that we see, when in fact we've got a log in our eye, and that log is not God's word.
Right.
It's something else.
Right.
Getting the log out of our eye helps us see God's word more clearly.
Right.
The Torah is God-given as an object of meditation day in, day out for believers, right? I mean, he gave it for us to study and to teach, just like we know from 1 Timothy, continue in the public teaching, reading and teaching of the scriptures, right? You've known the scriptures from childhood. Do you think that when Paul circumcised Timothy had to like go reference some Essene book or like some other like
the Pharisee
sectarian
handbook
volume to understand what was happening to him?
Right.
Or was Timothy going, finally, I was uncertain about this because my father didn't circumcise me. Because of that, I was looked at I was kind of marginalized within the local community, and I wasn't sure what to do. And then Paul comes along and says, hey, this is what we're going to do, And do you think Timothy from that day on thought, oh man, now I'm under the curse of the law. Like, Paul, why would you do that to me? Why would you circumcise me? Now I'm under the curse of the law. Like, if you believed a lot of mainstream Christian teachings, you'd have to come to that conclusion,
right?
That Paul put Timothy under the curse of the law. And this teacher we listened to today, it's just foggy thinking. It's kind of clickbaitish. It's wanting to be provocative, but it's not provocative for the right things. Unless people see how much of an idiot the guy is.
I mean, look, the guy seems sincere in looking at his website. He seems like a sincere believer, but at the same time, this reeks of eisegesis and attempting to steer the ship into the rocks. All right, if our content is a benefit to you, consider supporting this work that we do. You can do that at TorahResource.com. Go find, even $5 a month actually does help us. I know that sounds weird, but we are able to do this work because of the support that you guys help us with, and we do appreciate that. All right, we're going to leave it there, and don't miss our main show, Wednesdays, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And if you want to send us a video, go ahead. Chegg at TorahResource.com. Chegg at TorahResource.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I know it sounds weird, but it really does help us. And we will see you in the next video.